If you keep making excuses, your life will stay the same. No excuses means no limits. The moment you stop blaming and start acting is the moment everything begins to change. If you're ready to stop making excuses and take control of your life, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay consistent with what you're about to learn. Because the truth is simple. Success is not about perfect conditions. It is about action, discipline, and responsibility. In this video, you're going to learn powerful things that will help you eliminate excuses, stay focused, and take action every single day. These are simple ideas, but if you apply them consistently, they will change your life. Part 1: Excuses keep you stuck. Excuses may feel comfortable, but they keep you exactly where you are. They give you a reason to avoid action without feeling guilty. When you say you are too tired, too busy, or not ready, you create a habit of delaying progress. This delay may seem small in the moment, but over time it builds into a pattern. That pattern keeps you in the same position, doing the same things, and getting the same results. Excuses create a false sense of comfort. They make you feel like you have a valid reason for not moving forward. But in reality, they are just a way to avoid discomfort. Growth requires effort, focus, and sometimes struggle. Excuses remove that effort, but they also remove progress. You stay comfortable, but you do not improve. You stay safe, but you do not move forward. When you rely on excuses, you avoid responsibility. You start to believe that your situation is out of your control. You think the problem is your schedule, your energy, or your circumstances. But the truth is that excuses do not solve anything. They only delay action. They keep you waiting instead of working. They keep you thinking instead of doing. Over time, excuses become automatic. You do not even notice them anymore. They become your first reaction when something feels difficult. Instead of pushing forward, you step back. Instead of taking action, you look for a reason to stop. This weakens your discipline and makes it harder to stay consistent. The moment you become aware of your excuses is the moment things can start to change. You begin to notice when you are avoiding action. You catch yourself before the excuse takes over. This awareness gives you a choice. You can either follow the excuse, or you can act anyway. Progress starts when you choose action over excuses. It does not require perfection. It does not require perfect timing. It only requires that you stop waiting and start moving. When you replace excuses with action, even small action, you break the pattern. You start building discipline. You start creating momentum. And step by step, you move forward. Part 2: Take full responsibility. Everything changes when you take responsibility for your actions. You stop blaming other people, and you stop waiting for the right moment. You begin to understand that your results come from what you do every single day. Your actions, your habits, and your decisions shape your life. When you accept this, you stop looking for reasons and start looking for solutions. Taking responsibility gives you control over your life. Instead of focusing on what is not working, you focus on what you can change. You stop thinking about what is outside your control and start acting on what is in your hands. This shift in mindset is powerful. It moves you from waiting and hoping to acting and improving. You become more focused, more aware, and more intentional with your actions. When you take responsibility, you also become more honest with yourself. You stop ignoring your mistakes and start recognizing them. You understand that every result comes from a decision you made or an action you took. This awareness helps you grow. It allows you to adjust, improve, and move forward without repeating the same patterns. You stop hiding behind excuses and start facing reality. Responsibility also builds consistency. When you accept that your progress depends on you, you begin to take action more often. You do not wait for motivation. You do not wait for the perfect moment. You act because you know it is your responsibility. This creates discipline over time. The more you act, the stronger your habits become. As you continue to take responsibility, your mindset becomes stronger. You stop feeling stuck. You stop feeling controlled by your situation. You realize that your actions have power. You begin to trust yourself more because you know you can rely on your own effort. This builds confidence and control. When you fully take ownership of your actions, excuses lose their place. You no longer need them. You focus on what needs to be done, and you do it. You move forward with clarity and purpose. Step by step, your actions begin to reflect the person you want to become. Part 3. Act even when you don't feel like it. You will not always feel motivated. There will be days when you feel tired, distracted, or unprepared. There will be moments when doing the work feels difficult and uncomfortable. This is normal. Feelings change all the time. They are not stable, and they cannot be trusted to guide your actions. If you depend on motivation, you will only act when it feels easy, and that leads to inconsistency. Waiting for motivation is one of the biggest mistakes. It creates a cycle where you delay action again and again. You tell yourself you will start later, when you feel ready, when you have more energy, or when the timing is better. But that moment rarely comes. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. This delay builds a habit of inaction, and that habit weakens your discipline over time. Discipline means acting without relying on how you feel. It means doing what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like doing it. You separate your actions from your emotions. Instead of asking yourself if you feel ready, you focus on what needs to be done next. You take action anyway. This is what builds control and consistency. When you train yourself to act regardless of your mood, you build mental strength. You prove to yourself that you can move forward even when it is difficult. Each time you take action in a moment of resistance, you strengthen your discipline. You create a pattern of action instead of avoidance. Over time, this pattern becomes part of who you are. Acting without motivation also builds momentum. The hardest part is starting. Once you begin, it becomes easier to continue. Small actions lead to more actions. Progress begins to build, and your focus improves. You stop overthinking and start doing. This shift makes a big difference in your results. When you learn to act even when you do not feel like it, you become reliable. You become someone who follows through. You do not depend on emotions to decide your actions. You act based on your goals and your responsibilities. This is what separates discipline from motivation. This is what allows you to keep moving forward, no matter how you feel. Part 4. Control your time and focus. Excuses often come from distraction. When your attention is not controlled, it becomes easy to avoid what needs to be done. You start focusing on things that are easy, comfortable, or entertaining instead of what is important. Time passes, but no real progress is made. This creates a pattern where distraction replaces action, and excuses become easier to justify. When you do not control your time, everything else starts to control it for you. Notifications, social media, and small interruptions take your attention away from your goals. You move from one thing to another without clear direction. This lack of focus makes it harder to stay consistent. It becomes easier to say you are busy, even when you are not being productive. Controlling your time means being intentional with how you spend it. You decide what matters and give your attention to those priorities. You remove or reduce what does not help you grow. You focus on tasks that move you forward instead of tasks that only fill your time. This creates clarity and direction. It allows you to use your time with purpose. Focus is what turns time into progress. When you focus on one task at a time, you work with more clarity and less resistance. You avoid unnecessary distractions and stay committed to what you started. This builds consistency and makes your actions more effective. You begin to see real results because your effort is directed in the right way. As you build control over your time and focus, excuses begin to disappear. You no longer feel like you do not have enough time. You understand where your time is going, and you use it better. You stay focused on what matters, and you take action more consistently. This strengthens your discipline and keeps you moving forward. When you take control of your time, you take control of your life. Your actions become more intentional. Your focus becomes stronger. And your progress becomes more consistent. Part 5. Stay consistent, even when it's boring. Progress is not always exciting. Most of the time, it feels slow, repetitive, and simple. You do the same actions again and again without seeing immediate results. This is where many people lose focus. They start to feel like nothing is changing. They begin to doubt the process. This is also where excuses begin to appear. You tell yourself it is not working, or that you need something new, when the real problem is a lack of consistency. Consistency is what creates real results. It is not about doing something once or twice. It is about showing up every day and repeating the same actions over time. These small actions may not seem important in the moment, but they build on each other. They create progress slowly and steadily. When you stay consistent, you give your efforts enough time to grow into real results. You allow the process to work instead of interrupting it too early. Boredom is part of the process. When something becomes routine, it stops feeling exciting. But that does not mean it has stopped working. It only means your mind is looking for something new or more stimulating. Your mind naturally seeks variety, but growth often comes from repetition. If you follow the need for constant change, you break your consistency. You start over again and again without making real progress. Discipline means continuing even when it feels repetitive and simple. When you accept that not every day will feel exciting, you become stronger. You stop depending on how things feel and start focusing on what needs to be done. You build patience and control. You understand that results take time, and you stay committed to the process. This mindset helps you stay steady, even when progress feels slow or invisible. You keep going because you trust the process, not because you feel motivated. Consistency also builds trust in yourself. Every time you show up and do the work, you prove that you can rely on your own actions. This builds confidence and discipline over time. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. You no longer question whether you will act, because action becomes part of your routine. This self-trust is powerful. It keeps you moving forward without hesitation. There will be moments when you feel like stopping. There will be days when the work feels pointless or repetitive. But those are the moments that matter the most. Choosing to continue in those moments strengthens your discipline. It separates temporary effort from real commitment. It builds the habit of persistence, which is necessary for long-term success. Real growth happens in these quiet, repetitive moments. It happens when you keep going without needing excitement. It happens when you stay committed to the process, even when progress feels slow. It happens when you focus on doing the work instead of chasing quick results. This is where discipline is built, and this is what separates those who succeed from those who stop. Part 6. Own your actions. You are responsible for your choices. You are responsible for your habits. You are responsible for your results. Everything you do, and everything you avoid, shapes the direction of your life. When you understand this, you stop looking for someone or something to blame. You begin to see that your actions, repeated every day, are what create your outcomes. When something is not working, it is easy to blame other people or outside situations. It is easy to say the timing is wrong, the conditions are not good, or the situation is unfair. These thoughts may feel true, but they do not help you move forward. They keep you focused on things you cannot control. When you own your actions, your focus changes. You stop looking outward and start looking at what you can improve. Owning your actions means being honest with yourself. You recognize when you make mistakes. You accept when you could have done better. You do not ignore your weaknesses, and you do not avoid responsibility. This honesty is important because it allows you to grow. When you see things clearly, you can make better decisions and take better actions. Taking ownership also means choosing to act instead of waiting. You do not wait for better conditions or perfect timing. You take action with what you have. You focus on progress, not perfection. Even small actions matter, because they move you forward and build momentum. The more you act, the more control you gain over your situation. As you continue to own your actions, your mindset becomes stronger. You stop feeling stuck because you understand that change is possible through your effort. You become more focused and more disciplined. You begin to trust yourself because you know you can rely on your actions instead of excuses. Owning your actions builds confidence and control over time. You stop making excuses because you no longer need them. You focus on improving instead of explaining. You take responsibility for your life, and that responsibility gives you the power to change it. Part 7. Choose long-term over short-term. Excuses often come from choosing comfort. It is easy to choose what feels good now instead of what helps you later. Your mind naturally looks for what is simple, fast, and enjoyable. It pushes you toward actions that give immediate satisfaction. These choices feel right in the moment, but they often take you away from your goals. When you follow this pattern repeatedly, it becomes harder to stay disciplined. Short-term choices are everywhere. They appear in small decisions throughout your day. Choosing to delay your work, choosing comfort over effort, or choosing distraction over focus may not seem important at first. But these small decisions add up. They shape your habits, and your habits shape your results. When most of your choices are based on comfort, your progress becomes slow or stops completely. Choosing long-term over short-term means thinking beyond the present moment. It means focusing on where your actions are leading you. Instead of asking what feels good now, you begin to ask what will help you improve. This shift in thinking changes your behavior. You start making decisions that support your growth, even when they require effort and patience. This does not mean ignoring comfort completely. It means learning to control it. You understand that comfort has a place, but it should not control your actions. When comfort becomes your priority, discipline becomes weak. When your goals become your priority, discipline becomes stronger. You begin to choose actions that align with your future instead of your current feelings. Every time you choose what benefits your future, you build strength. These choices may feel difficult at first, but they train your mind to stay focused and patient. You begin to develop control over your impulses. You stop reacting automatically and start acting with intention. This builds discipline over time. There will be moments when the short-term option feels more attractive. There will be moments when the easier path seems better. These moments test your discipline. Choosing the long-term path in those moments is what creates real change. It separates temporary comfort from lasting progress. When you consistently choose long-term benefits over short-term pleasure, your habits begin to change. Your actions become more focused. Your decisions become more intentional. You move closer to your goals with each step. Over time, this way of thinking becomes natural, and discipline becomes part of who you are. Now you understand what it really means to live with no excuses. It is not about being perfect, and it is not about having everything figured out. It is about taking responsibility, staying consistent, and choosing action every single day. The more you remove excuses from your life, the more control you gain. And the more control you gain, the closer you get to the life you want. Change does not happen in one moment. It happens through small actions repeated every day. It happens when you decide to act even when it feels difficult. It happens when you stay focused, stay disciplined, and keep moving forward without looking for reasons to stop. This is how real progress is built. If you want to stop making excuses and start taking control of your life, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.